I'm gonna be honest, I didn't want to make this video, but I polled you all, and you said you'd rather see this instead of the February TBR. To be honest, I literally filmed the TBR video before this one, but democracy. It'll get you sometimes. So today we are talking about the books that I read in January. I read 12 books. Yes. And let's get to it. I'm gonna edit this video too, which I haven't in a while. I haven't edited videos in a while. Open Water by Caleb Zuma Nelson. I read this from December 31st to January 1st. And this was actually the very first book that I read in 2024. I was trying to finish the year with this book, and then I ended up not. I ended up finishing it a year after I started it, which is fine. I'll be honest, it wasn't. Honesty is the name of the game today. I'll stop saying it though. It was not as interesting as the first time that I read it. I'm not sure I will necessarily read the entirety of this book. However, it does have the best representation I've ever seen on racism's effect on the black psyche. At least this character's mindset and my mindset are very aligned in terms of it. There's like one page I could really memorize. It could really be a monologue because it's just really, really good. And it pinpoints exactly what I feel. I think this book has its purpose, but I'm not sure I'll be reading it in entirety again. So yes. I am planning on reading Small Worlds, which is also by him, which I read a year ago. I'll probably start it a year after I started it a year ago. Because although I don't always like page by page by page vibe with his writing style, I do respect it, and I do kind of want to analyze it. And this book, Small Worlds, also talks about music, which Open Water didn't. And although I have read it, I just want to read it again, mostly because I think the main character in that book has more in common with me than the main character in Open Water. The next book is The Winners by Frederick Bachman, December 23rd to January 1st. This is the only book ever to make me cry twice. I cried twice. It wasn't sobbing tears, but it was like 2 tears from each eye. It doesn't matter the number, but that's a feat. Making me cry twice in a book. Only one book that I can think of has made me cry once, which is Orbiting Jupiter. And this one made me me cry twice. I'm disappointed this series is over because it's a trilogy, and this was the last book. I discovered this series at the end of 2024, and I've just really fallen in love with it. Beartown, the first book in the series, is part of my favorite books of 2024, and honestly, I have a feeling The Winners is going to be on my 2025 favorites list. And at this point, I've read too many of Frederick Bachman's books to not say that I will read every other one of his books. Like when he comes out with a new one, I will be there. He's having a new one come out in May, I think, called My Friends or something, which I will be reading it. I haven't read all of his books, but when I see a book with him, nothing's stopping me from reading it, more or less. Next, we have Indivisible by Daniel Aleman. Another community choice. I asked what book I should start next, and you all voted for this one, and it's good. It's a good thing. That was honestly the book that I wanted to read the most out of all the books that I chose for the poll, because it had been on my bookshelf untouched for so long, and I decided to pick it up, not really knowing what it was about. I'd like to think that I knew what it was about when I bought it originally, but opening it again and picking it up again months, if not years after originally purchasing it, I had no idea what it was about. But it is about a person named Mateo, whose parents are undocumented, and the whole experience. I don't really want to like spoil it, but it's pretty. It's tough, and it's an area, a topic that I don't really know that much about, like deportation and being detained. So I learned about it, and it was really interesting. is what I'll say. It also has good supporting characters. Like every single character in this novel, I feel like has like a real personality, and could have their own book. Like I don't think he chooses favorites with his characters. All of them seem just as important in one way or another. Okay, the next book that I started and finished was The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer, which I read from January 4th to 6th. And this was obviously a reread. I'm saying obviously because in a video, which you should definitely watch, um, where I reconstruct my bookshelf post moving to another place. The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell made it onto my top 9 books of all time. And I've decided to reread the series. So I'm gonna read a book from the series um, each month. So, like, when the new month hits, I'm gonna start a new book. Granted, it is February 4th, and I have not started The Enchanted Returns, um, but I will as soon as I finish another book called Lady Justice that I'm reading. Because I'm already reading 2 books at a time. I don't want to be reading 3. Um, So yeah, it's just like it's like a hug to me. I have so many great memories associated with it, and I'm just glad to start the series again. Um, yeah, I just can't wait to continue. This is the notebook that I use for YouTube. Okay, next is A Woman Is No Man by Itaf from January 7th to January 10th. First of all, wonderful title. I'll be honest, again, I did not know what this was about going into it either. I was just pulled in from the title. But it is not what I thought it was about. I don't even know. Maybe I guess I thought it would. I didn't even know. Maybe I don't think I even knew that it was fiction, but it is. What it talks about a Palestinian family or a few Palestinian people. And it focuses on, like, I guess 3 generations of the same family. All of them are like the perspectives we hear from our woman. I would say this could be seen as a feminist book. It discusses a lot about like choices, like how choices are made, who can make a choice, why should they be able to make a choice, all that. It's just really interesting. It is tough. I'd maybe search up content warnings. This is generational trauma that I can handle. Compared to a book like Homegoing by Yaja. I did enjoy that book kind of, but I've realized something about myself that I don't really like family sagas because there are too many people to keep track of and you don't get equal time with each person. Like Homegoing was a book where every single chapter followed a new person in this family. Like it started off with someone, just a woman and a man, and then they had a child, and then it was that child's perspective, and then down, 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 down. And I found myself wishing we would have stayed with the person, a previous person that a previous chapter focused on. But this only switches between like 3, Farida, Dea, and Ezra. I do really like this book, and I will be reading the author's other book. I can't remember what it's called. Then from January 7th to 9th, I read How I Resist, which is written by a myriad of people, and it's about how the new generation should resist to life, basically, specifically in America, with like the political climate. I will probably reread it because I don't remember a single thing that I learned. I read it pretty fast, and I probably could have sat with it a bit more. I can admit that I think it's like a good gateway book, but I don't think it's where you should stop. I think there are other books that go into more of the specifics that I enjoyed more, such as How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. This book also does remind me that I should read more anthologies. It may not be considered an anthology, but I'm just thinking of books like written by multiple people where different people bring up their different opinions on like a kind of similar topic. I'm thinking of a book called Bad Feminist, which I think does that. That may only actually be as is about Roxane, written by Roxane Gay. But there's one, I read one called Don't Call Me Crazy, about mental health. And I know that's kind of a series. There's one about like women specifically. Did I read that? I may have read that. There's one about bodies that I didn't read that I want to read, which I can't remember the title of, but it's written like each essay or like chapter or whatever is written by a different person. And the same thing happened with How I Resist. So I think that that's cool because if I vibe with like a writer's writing style, I can potentially read more books by that person. And anyway, it's just interesting to hear someone's different people's opinions on like the exact same topic. All right, and then James by Percival Everett, the Barnes and Noble Book of the Year of 2024, was read from January 11th to 13th. I mainly read it because it was Book of the Year, but also like through the year, everyone was saying it's so good, so I decided to give it a shot, and it was pretty good. It was very good. The last part specifically was the best. I was like at the edge of my seat. Nice short chapters, which I will always appreciate. Lots of quotes, and similar to like How I Resist, making me want to read more books written by multiple people. This kind of makes me want to at least not be so adverse to reading books that are like reimaginings of other books. Like James is based on Huckleberry Finn, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Um, Although I'd say just read this instead of Huckleberry Finn, honestly. But yeah, I know Wide Sargasso Sea is something kind of like that, and other books like that. I shouldn't be. I haven't had that much exposure to it, and James tells me that maybe I should try some others. Okay, we are. I don't know if we're almost done. Let me not lie. The Shards by Bret Easton Ellis. This was highly anticipated for me, even though I had only recently read or heard about this book. It was like December when people's like favorite books of 2024 were coming out. I was like, this book sounds interesting. It was January 14th to 23rd. It's a very long book. It's like 23 hours on audiobook, which is, I guess, my longest book that I've read on an audiobook. I will say it's pretty explicit. It's pretty explicit. The most explicit book I've read. I can say without hesitancy. Um, it's read by the author. The audiobook is read by the author, which I appreciated. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I liked this book, but it was definitely interesting, and it was like some things were relatable. So yeah, I'm not sure I'm necessarily going to read another Bret Easton Ellis book. You may recognize him, that name, because he wrote American Psycho. Um, but I know that's a satire, but like the way he wrote in this book doesn't make me really want to read any of his other books, unfortunately, just in terms of how like objectifying the main character is in this book. Um, Unfortunately, that's okay though. Some authors are just not for me. Um, Jackpot by Nick Stone, 19th to 20th. A big reason why I read this is because I love the author's other book called Dear Martin. That's on like one of my favorite books of all time, not the top 9, but still like on that shelf. Um, so yeah, I don't think I went in knowing anything about it. Um, I feel like I had heard the title of the book. I just wanted to read it by the title alone, and also because it was written by Nick Stone. And then I bought it without knowing what it was actually about, and then I finally read it. Um, but I did enjoy it, not as much as Dear Martin, but it was still good. I know this character a lot. That's what I wrote. She definitely lets the reader know what she's thinking based on like her current surroundings, and I really just understand her. I did kind of guess the plot a little. There's like a, I don't know if it's a spoiler to say that there's a plot twist, but I kind of did guess the plot twist. Something I will remember this book for is the changing in perspectives. They had random chapters in the perspectives of things that you just would not think people would have perspectives of. Like books would have perspectives. Like in Jackpot, the title refers to someone winning the lottery in the book, and one chapter is in the perspective of the lottery ticket itself. So it's interesting. Like I'd never think I'd find that in the book. Um, Next, we have This Book Will Make You Happy by Nero Feliciano. I started this on the 21st, then I read to the 24th, and then I didn't read any of the 25th, then 26th to 27th. I know that information is important to you, so that's why I'm telling you. I know the author. I don't know if I've talked one-on-one with the author, but she's a family friend, which is pretty cool. But I really love this book, and this out of all the books is the book that I've been thinking about the most since I finished reading it, like almost like every day. It's kind of like a self-help book. Um, it's called This Book Will Make You Happy: 8 Keys to Find Contentment. Um, and yeah, like it has changed my outlook on life kind of generally. So I definitely recommend this. Um, mhm. None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I literally read this less than a year ago, but I was, I, a part of me has stayed in that book universe, like a specific type sentence from it. I've thought about ever since finishing it, and I had to read it again. I wanted to read it again. It's a great audiobook. It's like two perspectives. Someone keeps slamming doors outside. Um, And yeah, this reread, if anything, tells me that I need to read Lisa Jewell's other books. And I know she has like a very um robust, if that's the right word, I was gonna say discography, like book. Like she has a lot of books. And I probably at this point will read all of them because like I've only read one and I read it less than a year apart, and both times were just a really good experiences, and I just loved reading it. And both I read like really quickly. I didn't write down how long it took me to read None of This Is True the second time. I know the first time was 1 day, and I think the second time was like 2 days. It just very like page flipping, thrilling, engaging. And then the last book that I read is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I'm not going to talk about this a lot in here because I'm making a video about it. I just actually filmed the last clip in that video before this video. Um, but yeah, I read the book and then I watched the TV show. So um, be on the lookout for that video. I will say um, nothing. You have to watch the video. But it was heavily anticipated. Like so many people love Normal People. So I wanted to read it. And my thoughts are in that video that isn't out yet. And those are all the books that I read in January. So cool. It's already the fourth, and I haven't finished a book. And that's not that much into the month, but like compared to last month, I literally finished a book on the first. I finished 2 books on the first. So TikTok. And by the fourth, I had already finished 3 books. So I'm going a little slower. I just need to get through Lady Justice. I'm halfway through. I think I just need to, whenever I have a free moment, just instinctively start to reach for Lady Justice instead of my phone or like watching a TV show. But yes, thank you so much for watching. This is the first like full-length video that I filmed on my phone for a while. It's definitely less stressful than my laptop because I have to do like importing and exporting, yada yada. Yeah, check out recent videos if you'd like. The last one I made was for Hit Me Hard and Soft, Billy's album, which unfortunately didn't win any Grammy Awards, which is really a bummer. I think she, if not the album, should have won at least one. But yeah, I recommended 5 books based on 5 songs in that album. I love like recommendation videos like that. So yeah, just take a look around. I hope this video is not the only time you'll see my face. But yeah, thanks for watching again, and I will see you very soon, hopefully in the next chapter. Bye.